and we are back at it with another episode of the Premier Planet podcast. Right out of the gate, we want to thank you guys for your understanding for us having to miss last week. We do apologize. We've been really good about getting these episodes to you guys every week. Last week was the first time that we've actually missed since we started doing this weekly, so thank you guys for your understanding. We're going to be doing this over the phone today because Randy and I couldn't get together like we normally do, so I'm going to call him up right now. Hopefully he picks up. Let's just make sure he does.
Hello.
Hey, Rand, you ready to roll?
What's up?
Got the audio going, so if you're ready to go, we can get this thing going.
Just tell me when.
Yep, we're all good. We're rolling.
All right. So usually you kick it off because you are more eloquent than I, but also you're in attendance, which you weren't this week.
Yes, unfortunately.
How come, motherfucker?
I've been sick the last couple of weeks.
How bad is it?
Symptoms aren't too bad, but I did test positive for a certain virus, so I'm having to quarantine until I'm in the clear. I just took my second test today. We're recording this on Monday, so I should know the results by Thursday. Hopefully I'll be in the clear by then.
But it wasn't that bad, huh?
No, it really wasn't. It started with some fatigue and a headache that wouldn't go away. At first I thought it might be a sinus infection because the headache was like right above my eye, but yeah, then I had low appetite, and I randomly lost my sense of taste, which I guess comes along with the virus. So I went and got tested, and sure enough, it came up positive. So had to wait a week, went and got tested again. We'll see what the next test says. All in all, I feel pretty good. So
I'm trying to think of when me and DeMarcio we got something both about the end of January. Yeah, no, the fever was fucking horrendous. The body ache was horrendous. I don't think so much then about like the sense of taste or smell. But I had no appetite. So I guess that would probably go with taste, you know?
yeah, my appetite was really down too. I would eat maybe like one small meal a day and be good all day. It was really easy to overdo it, too.
I've just had it with the drama, you know. I had somebody on my Facebook last night talking about people who don't wear masks are killing people who wear masks. And I said, okay, where's the proof? So right away they start going to only the university studies, you know.
Yeah.
And I said, well, that's not really proof. I'd like to see where somebody was charged. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you always got to read the fine print.
It's just ridiculous, you know? Yeah, it's a fucking bad thing, but this life and death and, you know, all that stuff is just cream in the country.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, not to mention what it's doing to the economy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my thing is, I mean, I've been cautious. I wear a mask every time I go out. I keep my hands clean. You know, if there's hand sanitizer available, I use it. When I go shopping, I wipe down my cart. I did all that, and I still ended up with the thing. So, you know, clearly the masks and whatnot, they're not working as well as we're being led to believe.
No, but whatever. It is what it is. I just don't want to be one of these people that, you know, I just hope that Biden doesn't win, so we have to wear masks forever. This is the new America type shit, you know.
Yeah, I'm not accepting this as the new normal. I refuse.
Do you remember that movie with Sandra Bullock and Sylvester Stallone? It was some futuristic shit.
I feel like I do, but yeah, I can't remember.
I can't remember either.
It
came out a long time ago. It was one of her first big movies.
Yeah, I'm going to pull up IMDb right now because now I'm curious. So, let's see.
Sandra Bullock was from the future. I don't know how or why Stallone was from the past.
And you said it was one of her first movies?
I believe so.
And let me
the first breakout role. Can you just Google Stallone and Bullock? I would put us on speaker, but you're going to lose me.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to have to Google it. She's got way too many film credits to sort through, and so does he, so.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the bottom line is in the future, you couldn't even have physical contact with people and make out. Because all the germophobia, and at the end of the movie, Stallone said, "This is fucking ridiculous," and then he won out.
Was it was it Demolition Man?
Yes, I believe it was Demolition Man.
Oh, okay.
But at the end of the movie, he uncovered the fact that the government was just trying to fuck with people and control them.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, really, when you look at it, the whole thing's an exercise in compliance. What's happening now?
Yeah. And it's always been nothing but a strong suggestion. I have a friend, I forget what office he's running for, and I forget what part of California he's exactly in, but I know he's out in L.A., and he's a gym owner, And he owns a serious gym. And he closed down for a while, and then right when he's about to lose everything, he says, "Fuck that, I'm opening up," So they came, and I want to say, I know they cited him. I don't know if they arrested him, but he had his first court date last week, and nobody fucking showed up because they don't know what the fuck to charge him with.
Right.
You know what I mean? But anyway, it's prompted him to run for some sort of office, and he's gotten a lot of support, which is nice,
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Is he around here?
All right.
Is he in another state?
Yeah, he's in California near Los Angeles. I wish he was around here.
Oh, okay.
20 or 20 some odd years ago, he actually hit me up to train. This kid was a competitive bodybuilder back then, and also he had finished at the top of his class from some college. I can't remember where in Indiana, and he finished like within the top part of his class to be a lawyer, law school. Passed the bar, no problem. The problem was there was more jobs than there were lawyers. More lawyers than there were jobs. So he ended up at these funky firms doing shit he didn't want to do, wormy shit like basically glorified bill collecting. You hit a certain point where there's bill collections. It's bill collecting, but you've got a law degree. You know what I mean? He's like, fuck this.
Yeah. It's not what you signed up for. So he trained for
a while, and he was real good and looked the part and had tons of heart in that. But he had I want to say a herniated disc. So he just couldn't, do what we do. Uh-huh. It was that type of injury where bumps would have creamed him, but he could still train heavy and hard. His name was Lou.
Oh.
Or Louis. Good guy.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Yeah. All right. So then it was pretty fucking good,
Yeah, I've heard. I managed to get into the studio when nobody was there today, and get the SD card out of the camera. So I'm looking forward to seeing what these guys did while I'm editing the video this week.
Yeah, it was pretty damn good. And things, if you want to see the results and whatnot, the results are on the Facebook page, and also so is me pimping the results on the Facebook page and also YouTube. So I'm not going to run down the whole thing again. But I will say the things that stuck out the most for me were, of course, that tag team battle royal. That was a pretty cool concept.
Yeah,
I like how it gets over. I like how the guys are getting into it. And I was very surprised and pleasantly surprised with the greener guys like Ventura, Xander Lars, and Charlie Hustle.
Yeah, I saw Hustle got a big opportunity against Sem.
Yeah, it was a good, solid, tight match.
Yeah, and it's probably worth mentioning since we're recording this on the day of. But tonight, Sem is actually. I didn't know they were doing. I didn't know that they were doing Ninja Warrior right now, but apparently Sem's going to be on tonight on NBC. So
odd time to do it, or
huh?
Why'd you say you were surprised? Is this an odd time to do it? Is it not
I'm just curious how they're going to do it. I mean, I'm sure they're not going to have a big crowd or anything, but if they're going to be doing...
their crowd pretty much friends, family, and plants. They don't need a crowd for that. It already sounds like dubbed-in crowd noise, controlled crowd noise, with the applause sign and the boo sign, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It's not like our kind of crowd,
Right.
If that makes sense. So I don't think they're going to miss a step. They rarely show the crowd. You can't see the crowd in the background. You hear them anyway,
Yeah.
They're not going to feel the effects like we do because that's not a revenue stream to them,
Right.
And I guess what's getting weird is WWE doesn't consider live attendance a focused revenue stream anyway either. I know they want to get people in the buildings, but I just don't know. The stock value hasn't plummeted that hard,
Yeah. That's kind of bizarre.
Learn how to...
That's kind of bizarre because you'd think they would be almost living and dying by the gates.
No, it's starting to switch over, because, he's always been an expert at optimizing,
Yeah.
Vince McMahon, I want to say a lot of that comes from Linda. Optimizing, which means basically doing the best with what you have. And, he's the marketer, so they've always made a good pair, and that's why they're so successful for so long,
Well, they've always been good about adapting to change and overcoming adversity.
Yeah.
That's one reason they're still kicking, is because they can have a challenge in front of them and they can figure out a way to, still make something work.
Work successfully, and now at the end of the day, everything, the most important thing to them is the stock value.
Right, you got to keep the shareholders happy.
Exactly. Now, somebody that I used to watch that stuff, because I was doing, at one point I was doing WWE and WCW extra work. I want to say probably I was doing extra work for both companies. Yes, I was. WCW when they were winning the Monday Night Wars, WCW when they were losing the Monday Night Wars. But Vince has always been amazing because he'll do things like run Oshkosh, Wisconsin. He runs UW Oshkosh. It's a decent building that looks a lot bigger on film. But I think in the stands, it only seats about 1,100 people. And then you just got to fill the floor on one side. I wrestled there for an independent that drew real well once. But, then I would go to WCW and, Springfield, Illinois, buildings like that were just sold out. Then I was, but that's what Vince would do. He would run those smaller venues. He would fill those big venues. And then he would schedule more live events in other countries in Canada. And just draw like crazy and make a mint off the live gate attendance,
Yeah.
Then the live gate attendance and the merchandise was his number one, and live attendance, merchandise sales, and pay-per-view were the three top revenue streams.
Yeah, I remember being a fan watching in the early '90s, especially when Monday Night Raw first hit the airwaves between like '93 and I think about '96. They would run these real small, almost clubhouse-size arenas.
Yeah, it's because they were getting their ass whooped.
Yeah.
But, you could walk away from that at least breaking even or, some small profit selling out those buildings, when I was at TNA, that's what I was trying to push. I was trying to say, look, nobody knows who the fuck we are. They know Kurt. They also know Kurt's fucking crazy. Kurt was deemed crazy. You know what I mean? We can't be going into these 10,000-seat arenas, even when you black them out or block them off the seats and all that stuff. It still looks like a gigantic building. You've got nobody there,
Yeah.
Let's start running the smaller venues. You know what I mean? Then when we start drawing past the smaller, grow into it. But they just didn't want to listen,
Yeah, well, I remember in about 2006, like right when they were at their peak, They would be running those real small ones, but then they would come out to because I think that year they did Bound for Glory at the Sears Center, and I think they sold it out if I remember right.
I was gone. I wasn't there then.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but I think.
So what I'm talking about is the first live events in '06 and '07.
Oh, okay.
You know, yeah, but they were in the Sears Center. No, I don't think they sold it out. They might have combo Drew Well sold and comped, but they made no money there. You know, they didn't make any money at that show. And I think Hogan was in that, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that might have been right before he came in. I know Sting was in the main, I think, that night.
Yeah, that was just that thing was always doomed to fail. Just a prime example of ego meaning more to you than actual business, you know?
Yeah. Well, the fact that they thought that they could compete with, go head-to-head with Vince on Monday night and become like the new and improved WCW, I mean, I think that says it all. I knew when they went to Monday night, it was gonna really hurt that company.
How long did that last? It didn't last long, did it?
A few months, I think, and then they had to kick it back to, I think, Thursday nights again.
I just remember there was they tried to do a press conference with Dixie, Bischoff, and Hogan at Madison Square Garden, and nobody showed it, nobody cared.
I think I remember that story.
Yeah, nobody was there, nobody gave a shit either. And Dixie said, "We're firing the first shot in the new Monday Night Wars."
Yeah, too bad all they had was a Nerf gun.
Oh, you idiots. Not even, man. Squirt gun full of pee.
Reminds me of what Piper said, you don't throw rocks at a man who's got a machine gun.
No, man, it was just ridiculous. What a waste. You know, what an absolute waste of millions and millions. I don't think we'll ever know how much money was really burned in with that TNA excursion by Panda Energy, you know?
Oh, probably not. I would suspect somebody was probably in some way, shape, or form, maybe even cooking the books to try and make it look like they were turning some kind of profit. Wouldn't surprise me.
Well, they were, but they weren't turning a profit. They never turned a profit. What they did was this, and this is why I left TNA. So I go there, whatever. I didn't want to work for the company as an employee, but I ended up working for the company as an employee. So I was sold on this idea of building a company, hitting them where they ain't. Building a company in, how many years ago was that? 14 years ago. Let's say 15 years ago. Building a company around guys like AJ and Samoa Joe. Making them the household name. Building them, though. Knowing full well they weren't there yet. They had a great internet following. You know what I mean? But people didn't know who the fuck Samoa Joe was, or AJ Styles, your casual fan, or John Q. Public, you know? So those were the type of guys that we were trying to build when I got there. That was the plan by Jeff. That was the plan by Dutch Mantel. That was the plan by Jim Cornette. But that was the plan by Jerry Jarrett, who was, scouting talents in the first place when Jeff started to put his own money into starting that thing, you know. And, I didn't think that was that bad. You know, I took less money than I was promised to work there, but what I wanted to do was make a percentage, you know, in the way of bonuses of monies that I saved in production, money that I saved in creating revenue, or generating revenue, or revenue streams. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I forget, I did at least a couple personal appearances, you know. Those were something new. Honest, no, fuck that shit. It was, they never did it before. They never made money off of personal appearances like Vince does. Or did. I don't even know if Vince does anymore. You know what I mean? But people would pay, you know, good money to meet and greet with Kurt, then Christy Hemme. I wanted to get Sting out there, but he wouldn't fucking do it. You know, I was like, man, we'd be smart to fucking pay Sting $10,000 to go to Springfield, Missouri, than we would putting him on TV this week, because people pay that just to get his merch and his autograph.
Right.
You know what I mean? But they wouldn't do it. You know, I'm like, man, this guy never really was properly merchandised. You know, that's where Crockett and Turner failed, and WCW's regime failed. They never merchandised thing when he was over properly. There's a few straggler shirts out there, but, you know, they look like T-shirts some asshole could have ironed on in his basement. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember those old WCW Sting shirts. Yeah, they didn't look like anything super special.
Man, like 1, 2 designs at the most, but he certainly never signed anything. You certainly couldn't go up and shake Sting's hand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, let's turn Sting into a revenue stream instead of fucking, you know what I mean, spending that kind of money when no one's watching him anyway yet. You know what I mean?
Right.
Drop him from the ceiling once a month. He cleans house, cuts a promo, advertising for the pay-per-view. You know what I mean? And then every week, you pimp, don't forget, Sting will be in the studio. Then you get there, Sting's supposed to be here. Is he here? And then, you know, build the platform, drop the motherfucker. He cleans house, and then he cuts the promo for the upcoming pay-per-view. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The rest of the time, if you want to draw at your house shows, Sting will be in Springfield, Missouri. Sting in Jackson, Mississippi. You know what I mean?
Yeah, make it more appealing by not oversaturating.
Exactly. Keep him the way he was, you know. When he was the top guy for WCW, when WCW was beating Vince, or the top promotion, didn't overexpose that motherfucker.
No.
You know, he would appear, but he wouldn't have a match on Thunder. He wouldn't have a match on Nitro. You know what I mean? Same thing with Hogan. When Hogan was on top, he rarely wrestled on TV. You had to pay to see Hulk. You know what I mean? And that's these idiots went out there and said, "Can you do 25 minutes with Kurt Angle?" What the fuck? You know?
Yeah, especially at the age he already was. He was already in his mid-40s by then, probably older. I think closing in on 50 in the mid-2000s.
I think he might have been 50. I don't remember, but I mean, look what happened when he tried to work whatever with Tyler Black.
Oh, yeah, the match that ended his career.
That's what I'm trying to say, you know. I mean, save it. The guy's only got so many matches left, you know.
Yeah.
But they didn't want to hear none of that shit. They, in their minds, just didn't. We own Sting. We own Sting. You know what I mean? They think they own Sting. They thought they owned Sting from, you know, the top-rated fucking Nitro or Thunder, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know what I mean? And they paid dearly because he didn't want to fucking do it, you know? He shook them down hard if they wanted him, which you can't fault the guy for that. One thing I do fault him for is I don't like the exploitation of God or Christ, but he signed a deal with them and then schools him for another donation for his brother's church after he signed the deal. And I was like, man, that's pretty fucking scummy.
Yeah, it is.
What Christian would pull that shit? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's basically a shakedown.
Yeah, what would Jesus do? He wouldn't exploit.
I know that's some Robert Tilton level shit there.
Yeah, that always stuck in my craw because I held him in a higher regard too, you know.
Yeah.
I don't hold him in a low regard. I just thought that was kind of fucking shady and wrestler-like, you know.
It lowered your opinion of him.
Old-timey, carny wrestler-like, you know.
Yeah. How can I get the absolute maximum out of this?
But anyway, what better way? I mean, you're supposed to use Sting to pass the fucking torch, and what better way to do it? You know?
Yeah.
You had them show up at the house show, running on the main events. The other thing I wanted to do was change titles at the house shows.
Yeah, Vince used to do that way back in the 80s and 90s, and that was their hook for getting people into the house shows because they said, they would go on TV, you know, on Raw or something, and say, oh, this last Thursday in Bumblefuck, Arkansas, the Head Shrinkers won the tag team championships. Anything can happen in the World Wrestling Federation.
Well, all wrestling used to be that way, Justin. You know, before there was pay-per-view, you know, when they do the title change at the house show, that's what people would buy tickets because, like you just said, the unexpected suspension of disbelief or the attempt to suspend disbelief, you know?
Yeah.
Unbelievable, though, you know? They wouldn't do any of that shit, you know? None of it. You know?
Yeah, and I think that would have worked, especially for a company the size that TNA was at the time.
With the money that they had, yeah. You know, with the money that they had, but they just wouldn't use it right. You know, I'm very resourceful. You see how resourceful I am with what we have.
Yeah.
So this company, the pyro company, is called Pyrotech. Can't remember if it was TEK or TEC. But didn't WWE used to do a fire match?
Yeah.
With the fire.
The Inferno match.
Inferno match? And they don't do it anymore.
No, the last time they did it was, I think, was 7 years ago at SummerSlam. It was Kane and Bray Wyatt. But at that point they called it a Ring of Fire match.
Okay. So, you know, Luke incepted that original idea, Luke Williams of the Bushwhackers.
Oh, did he? I had no idea.
Yeah, he did. I've seen a couple in Puerto Rico that it was big down there to end the feuds. Luke invented that shit. Total work. Nobody got hurt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And on a shoestring budget. You know?
Well, Puerto Rico,
but
yeah.
I won't do it. You know, I won't do that kind of stuff because this brand of talent, and for our guys, they work more than anybody. Work them once or twice a week now. But they just don't have the time, and to me, I wouldn't do that type of match to them because the ring timing, it just, you know, the proper ring timing, there's just going to be an accident. Someone's going to get hurt, and I don't want to be responsible for that shit or have that in my conscience. You know what I mean?
Well, and with the caliber of our roster, you have to ask, I mean, do they even really need it?
No, but you could do a lot of cool things with it. You know what I mean? You know, if there's one thing we're missing, it's those monster-type gimmicks, which always get over. You know what I mean? Talking about Abdullah the Butcher, King Kong Brody, you know, Bruiser Brody, who else? Who else are some, you know, okay, let's say Kane and Undertaker, but who else? Papa Shango.
Shango,
Trying to think
Vader.
of the territories. Okay, Leatherface in Memphis, Leatherface.
Leatherface, yeah, good one.
You know, shit like that. There's always a place for that. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And that's something that Ricky Banderas, El Macias.
Yes, Ricky.
TNA again?
Judas Macias.
Judas Macias. But, you know, there's always something, there's a fascination with that. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, especially if it's a main, like if it's a main event and you've got your superhero babyface and he comes up against this monster. Well, now the babyface, he's got a challenge in front of him, and people want to see how it plays out. I mean, that's why they fed Cena so many big guys in the mid 2000s when he was at his hottest.
But yeah, they all used to do that. Hogan as well, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, look at WrestleMania 2. Bundy was probably legit 480 pounds, you know?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I know a lot of people back then, they actually thought that, I mean, you know, fans who remember that, they actually thought that Bundy was going to walk out with the title that night because they didn't think Hogan had a chance against a guy that size.
Yeah, it was pretty fucking cool. But there you go, the suspension of disbelief. So there were people all over the territories like that, too. The territories always had that kind of shit. Memphis always had that kind of shit. They had Lord Humongous. There was more than one Lord Humongous, but the first Lord Humongous was Sid Vicious, who, you know, never was a good fucking worker, terrible fucking worker, you know. Worst thing for him is to fucking take his mask off and let him speak, in my opinion. But anyway,
I think that's what Sid's best known for is his promo work, and not in a good way.
Yeah, he just killed himself off. But, you know, if you went off of pop culture at the time, the fucking Road Warrior movie it's just a timeless movie. You know, with the original Mel Gibson. And 2 was good, too. But that movie spawned the Road Warriors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kamala was a monster.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But anyway, that spawned the movies, and it also spawned Sid Vicious breaking in. I want to say it was in Memphis first as Lord Humongous, you know? But he couldn't do shit. He did all the work for him. You know what I mean?
Right.
Particularly probably Lawler, if memory serves, you know.
Yeah, but he had the size, and he had the look.
Yeah. Or I'll tell you, you know, they did a little bit with it. You're not old enough to remember, I don't think. You remember the Awesome Kongs?
The Awesome Kongs, no.
If you can, pull them up on Google. They were fucking two 500-pounders that were taller than Bundy that were managed by Harley Race somewhere in the 90s, somewhere around that Yoshi Kwan time, right before or right after. But one of the Kongs, I think, quit because of health reasons, and the other Kong went from WCW to Memphis for a while, and I worked with him. But those fucking guys were just so big and believable, you know? I'm not sure what the hell happened, why he would have left WCW, because, you know, that was one of the last drawing angles in Memphis was Awesome Kong beating Lawler for the title, you know? And then Lawler chasing him. You see those pricks or no?
I've got something for the Colossal Kongs from the early 90s.
What? Yeah, great big guys, black masks.
Yeah.
Are they with Harley?
It's kind of hard. I gotta sift through all the stuff about Awesome Kong, Kaya, because that's most of what's coming up here.
Yeah, that was kind of I don't know why they named her that, because I think just because the other Kongs or Kong had notoriety of some sort, I think they could have found a different name for Kaya, you know.
Yeah, results are kind of thin for. Yeah, I don't even see anything.
On YouTube. I'll find it on YouTube and post a match from the training page.
Okay. Well, I've got a YouTube match here. I mean, it's a minute 45, but yeah, Colossal Kongs.
Well, they changed it to Awesome Kongs. Or maybe one wrestled as... No, I'm pretty sure they were Awesome Kongs and they were managed by Harley. You know, so when WCW put Harley with someone, they weren't fucking around. They wanted to teach them something. You know, they wanted to invest in them, but then they just disappeared, you know?
Yeah.
But those monsters, I mean, your most successful draws were probably Hulk Hogan versus some fucking monster. You know what I mean? Or monsters. So anyway, yeah, I'd like to do that type of stuff eventually. And I think since nobody's doing it, it's kind of hitting them where they ain't again. I think people really get behind it if you can find somebody that could really pull it off, you know?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like the big man is kind of a lost art, because even the big guys right now, I mean, they want to be luchadors.
Yeah. Well, you're larger than life, you know. They don't know how to work the craft.
Right.
You know, is the problem. You know, they all think like, I don't know. I used to be torn on the Giant. Paul White.
Yeah, Paul White, Big Show.
Yeah. So, you know, look at what the fuck they did with Andre. You know.
Yeah.
Look how long Andre drew. Andre was a household name before Hogan.
Yeah, and I mean, that was one of the most notorious programs in WrestleMania history, was Hogan and Andre. I mean, look what it drew.
Well, before Hulk Hogan was even thinking about becoming a wrestler, Andre the Giant was known all over the world, you know?
Yeah, he was the attraction that everybody wanted to see.
Attraction, exactly. And when he was young and healthy, well, he could do a lot for his size, but let's say, again, his size. When they started to fuck with Paul White about being able to do more, losing weight, I thought, what the fuck? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why? What's his legit height? Isn't he really like 7'2"?
Yeah, I think it's right about that 7'2", 7'3".
I mean, that's built in larger than life. But didn't have anybody around that could show him how to do that to get the maximum money out of him, you know?
Right.
And when Andre was under contract with Vince, he would sign this deal saying, okay, I have to go to Japan this many times a year because I can't fucking turn that payment down. You know what I mean? Vince would say, okay, you know?
Yeah.
But also, Andre you'd hardly see on television. You didn't know he was on Vince's roster before pay-per-view. You know, but they'd bring him in and for their talents and stuff, you know what I mean, and put him with Bruno or whatever. But, yeah, you know, that's something. I mean, you know the one that let me down? What was that guy's name that was the Funkasaurus?
Oh, Brodus Clay.
Wasn't he in a movie?
Probably. I can't think off the top of my head.
I don't know. But anyway, I had a lot of hope for him. Because he was so fucking huge, and he seemed charismatic, and he moved so well, you know, and he seemed to have a clue.
Yeah.
But as soon as he started getting some momentum, they put that stupid shit on him.
Yeah, because originally he was billed as a monster. I know they had him working under. He was the protege of Del Rio. And then they slapped the dancing gimmick on him.
Right, killed him off, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, as far as wrestling goes,
it was entertaining, but something like that on a guy like him was never going to get above the mid-card.
No, it was short-lived.
Yeah.
I remember when they unmet, so at the time, Percy wasn't working for Vince. I don't know if he was off or whatever. It might have been when his wife was sick. But he really got pissed off when they unmasked Kane. I remember he threw a shit fit about killing him off, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't really understand that either.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like for what it was, it worked because of the programs they had him in after that. With him, like, you know, setting people on fire and whatnot. They still tried to keep him a monster, but that element of mystery was gone.
Yeah. Yeah, there could have been a lot of reasons. There were fake Canes overseas.
Well, they had one short-lived, actually feuding with Kane on TV for a few weeks, and then they just randomly pulled the plug.
I think that was motivated by the fake Canes. There were actually people in Europe that were selling Kane that's going to be Birmingham, England. You know what I mean? They had some big guy do a run-in for 3 minutes, and the people didn't know what hit him. He'd run out, you know? So that was Brian Lee, or I want to say Chains from... biker kid.
Yeah, DOA.
Yeah, that was Brian Lee, and he was the fake Kane. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think he was a fake Undertaker too.
Yeah, he was. SummerSlam in Chicago, '94. He was the fake Undertaker. I think Luke Gallows also did the Kane gimmick overseas, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, a lot of guys did it bogusly. I mean, they were non-WWE promoters, you know.
Yeah.
And the people then bought it because at one point when Vince wasn't running house shows, he would let you'd have to book them through WWE, but you could book the guys for a stint, like maybe a year or less. The guys that were willing to do it, you know. You couldn't book the champion, you couldn't book the top guy, but you know what I mean? So at that point, the people kind of thought, oh, this promoter's bringing in Kane. You know, he struck a deal, you know.
Yeah.
Then they get there and they get fucked. You know what I mean?
And the guys
could have been part of it.
And the guy's under a mask, so who's really going to know?
But the other part with Glenn Jacobs is he was that era, man. I mean, he was that era where he could actually get in the ring with people that could teach him how to work.
Right.
You know, and the same thing with Mark Henry. Killed off so many times and brought back so many times. You know what I mean? That's because he knew how to work. These guys, they don't know how to work like big guys, you know?
Yeah, it's a lost art, like I said.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more to it than putting your boot up and clotheslining and all that shit. You know what I mean?
You have to present as a monster.
Yeah, and you have to work like that, you know?
Yeah. That's one reason I always liked... and I know he couldn't do a whole lot in the ring because of his size, but that's one reason I always liked Earthquake, especially when he was a heel, because, you know, he would stand there and he would bounce back and forth, and this guy looked like he was going to, you know, go through the floor or something.
Yeah.
And I used to love his promo work because he would put on the real gravelly voice and, move like that. And you'd think like, holy shit, this guy's going to literally squash somebody.
Well, I honestly think he was probably over 500 pounds.
At a certain point, I think he was.
Yeah, but they never did much with him. But again, he didn't get into pro wrestling until he was older and he was accomplished as sumo.
Right.
So he's kind of coming in hammered to begin with. You know what I mean? Beat up, not in his prime. So he never really developed. And because of the age and all that stuff, that's why they never really pushed him that hard.
Yeah, I know his biggest program was with Hogan in the early '90s, and then of course he had that tag team run with Tugboat. Typhoon. Yeah.
Tugboat. Yeah, Tugboat was a great guy, but he was too. The bottom line, though, man, that was a fucking stiff bastard. He just couldn't help it because he wasn't athletic.
Right.
He would use you to break his fall all the time. I've worked with him, I know. You know what I mean? So they could never really turn him heel and do anything with him. But everybody loved him. Good person,
Yeah, so I've heard.
But you couldn't turn that guy heel,
No.
But, I'd say the best, most successful big man, Andre and Taker.
Yeah.
Andre first.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think anybody will ever draw, dollar for dollar, I don't think anybody will ever draw the way Andre did.
Yeah. No way, dude, especially overseas.
Well, and that's because he was, as we said, an attraction.
Yeah. And without syndicated television, too, don't forget how many tickets he sold,
Right.
It's a lot easier when the world sees, or at least the country sees, whoever Vince is pushing and whatever angles or storylines Vince was pushing when you were watching. But prior to that, you had your territories, And I'm going to see, I don't know if Andre ever came in for Memphis. I'm sure he came in for Puerto Rico. I think he came in for Puerto Rico at some point. But I know Gorilla loved the island, and him and his wife loved the vacation there. So I think that when Carlos started WWC, Gorilla was part owner. And I know I wouldn't be surprised if Andre came in and worked Gorilla down there or something. You know what I mean? At some point.
It's probable.
Yep. Gorilla Monson, another great heel. Baby or heel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Another great big guy. Baby or heel. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's weird that a lot of people don't realize how big he was physically. I think when he was at his peak, he was over 400 pounds.
Well, that's the other thing about Gorilla. When the mainstream came, when you started watching TV, he was way beyond his ring years, right?
Oh, yeah. When I started watching, it was right before he became the on-screen president of the company.
Okay, cool. So when you saw him, he had lost 140 pounds. He probably put 20 more years on his life.
Yeah.
So he really didn't look that big. He didn't look like Gorilla at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but then you look back at the old pictures and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah, there's a match on there. Shit, I don't remember. I'll find it. I'll find something from... It used to be on YouTube. I wonder if it was Andre and Gorilla in a boxing match, now that I think about it.
Huh, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. But it's like, wow. So that was kind of cheating, too, but... because they had that rub for Vince. And, in Puerto Rico, even though they are a U.S. dependent, they did get our programming and also, a big fascination with what was cool or the culture here in the States,
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it was amazing. I can remember buying the magazines, God, in the 70s. 72 probably, or earlier with Andre in there,
Yeah, the boxing match is on YouTube. Andre versus Gorilla, 1977.
Wow, in Puerto Rico?
I don't know. Let me pull it up here.
Yeah, it's in Puerto Rico. It's raining.
Where's the description?
I bet it was Roberto Clemente Stadium and it was raining.
I'm looking at it on Google, so Google doesn't give me the description. Let me pull it up on YouTube.
You know, and then you got your other fucking big men, monster Stan Hansen, you know.
Yeah.
Stan Hansen wasn't boring. You know, I never nobody chant boring to Hansen, boring to Brody, boring to John Nord. You know what I mean?
Right, no.
And you need those guys, you know. And Vince tried, you know, he really gave every opportunity in the world to Bradshaw to try to get over with that shit. But there wasn't enough guys around to teach him, or maybe he just couldn't listen.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Not saying he didn't draw with what they eventually came up with, but he'd been there how long, and they rammed it down your throat for how many years, you know?
Yeah, he went through, he was there, I think, about 10 years before they finally put the JBL gimmick on him, and that's what finally worked. I think he came in 95. He was managed by Dutch. He had a whole bunch of different gimmicks, and nothing seemed to work until they basically put the real life John Layfield into it.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it was basically off of whatever his political or financial investment background was exploited.
Yeah.
But then they kind of made him like JR, a giant JR from Dallas, you know.
Yeah.
But he certainly didn't work that much like a big guy to fucking kill your ass out there, you know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Vader was another one, you know. And that's what I think wrestling's lacking, and I think that they really should spend some time learning how to develop your larger-than-life guys, you know? Who's on the roster that's larger-than-life right now that's getting over? Is he Scottish or Irish, the top one?
Oh, McIntyre? Scottish.
Drew McIntyre, yeah. Scottish, right?
Yeah, but even McIntyre with his size, he doesn't really work like a big man.
He doesn't know how to. You know what I mean? Who else? Orlando Joe. No, who's the big black kid? Lashley, Bobby Lashley.
Yeah.
You know, those guys are lost. They've never been taught anything. They haven't been brought in right. Matt Morgan could have been one of those guys easily, but he needed to be with somebody in a ring that could work with him, not just Cornette. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I feel like Matt Morgan was a lost opportunity.
Yeah, he was real good, you know. Lance Hoyt, another one, you know. Mm-hmm. He bloomed into something really believable and great in Japan a couple years ago, but then as soon as he got with AEW, I mean, he doesn't work like that now. You know what I mean? Yeah,
another lost opportunity. Lance Hoyt was one of the first guys who really caught my attention in TNA in the mid-2000s when I first started watching. I just remember thinking
he got the look and the size, but he didn't have the work.
Right.
He couldn't work like that, you know? And then somewhere this motherfucker learned how to work. And if you look at his all New Japan over the last 2 years, holy fuck. You know?
Finally got there?
Now yeah, he really did. So believable. It was just, wow, you know? I was like, I can't believe where this kid learned how to work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, but the problem is you go to AEW, they don't do nothing with you, and then the animals run the fucking zoo. He's lost that, and Lance is in his 40s, so he's not going to be able to recapture without serious injury.
Right. And when you're that size, I mean, age definitely plays a huge factor.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He was really believable, you know, that last year of New Japan, where he finally kind of seemed to come into his own, you know. That was my plan when I got there, was to have specifically Matt Morgan, who TNA did have under a contract, and Lance Hoyt, who TNA did have under a contract, to go down and work in Puerto Rico. Because I think they both lived, whatever. They had to fly to Orlando for TV and pay-per-view. But if those guys are down there working 4 days a week in addition to the pay-per-view and the TV, you know, being aged by Luke, being aged by Dutch, being aged by Savio. Imagine how good they could have been.
Yeah, one can only think.
Yep. But again, you know, it's not, TNA didn't want to develop a company. You know what I mean? They were playing live wrestling dolls, you know?
Yeah, it's a good way to look at it.
They hired us to build a company. They hired us to build a company, and then we try to build a wrestling company. They fuck with you at every time. You know?
Yeah, they decided they wanted to try and be an entertainment company.
I don't even know about that. I don't think they thought that much, Justin. I just don't. I think they just wanted to collect wrestling dolls, live wrestling figures, and didn't know, okay, like I said, they made the underpants gnome business plan perfect. Step 1, get the underwear. Step 2, question mark. Step 3, profit. I don't think they even thought about that, And then when they fought, the thoughts were all over the place. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's clear by the product.
Yeah, there wasn't a sound business plan, Bottom line is, if I was them, I would have hired wrestling people to do wrestling business.
Right, you'd think that would make sense.
Jerry Jarrett, people up here don't understand the magnitude, and they won't. I think that I'm surprised that Vince hasn't inducted Jerry Jarrett into the Hall of Fame, because he ran that territory for 30 fucking years.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. Jeff is in there, of all people, but Jerry isn't, so...
I was talking to Jeff recently.
Oh, yeah?
A couple, 3 weeks ago. I was like, I can't believe these fucking guys around here that actually on booking and are around. I'm like, I got to fucking fight all these battles and play all these buck games on a Saturday, but I've been talking to Jeff off and on all day since I woke up. Unbelievable, huh? You know what I mean?
Yeah, really.
But, yeah, I really thought Jerry was going to get there before Jeff, or Jerry get there with Jeff. My fear right now is Jerry. I haven't heard much from him. He was on Twitter for a stint. And you could tell, I think that he's finally starting to hit the dementia stages.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, so there's going to be a whole hell of a lot of awesome information, valuable information, experience that's going to die with him, and that's always been my fear with Luke. I want people to know Luke Williams is the way he looks at this business from a business standpoint, and the success he's had with his ideas.
Yeah.
Because once they go, they're gone, and the proof is, let's talk about it again. The proof is the fact that there's no fucking big guys that get over, because there's no fucking big guys that can teach them how to be big guys.
Right, exactly.
No, let's not forget, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat was hurting when WCW hired him. When they hired Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, he didn't want to do it. He had at least 2 Steamboat fitness centers or gyms in I want to say Charlotte. I don't know where the fuck they were. One, I'm sure it had to be Charlotte. He didn't want to come back. He didn't need the money. He saved his money. He invested his money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He wanted to get out of this while he could still walk. You know what I mean? And they offered him an insane amount of money. Not necessarily to push him. Yes, he drew, but he wasn't going to draw like he did Ricky versus Flair for a year. You remember that shit, Ricky Steamboat versus Ric Flair?
Yeah, when they put
he wanted to quit after that. Yeah, he wanted to quit after that. They hired him to carry a couple, 3 guys, but the one in particular was they signed Ricky to an insane 2-year deal to teach Steve Austin how to work.
Yeah, and I remember that program.
Only to lose him to Vince.
Yeah.
But point is, though, is that that's how you develop somebody. You got to take that chance. Vince didn't take that chance. Turner didn't take that chance. TNA didn't take that chance. You have to find your horse and back that fucking horse wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
And, that's why I do what I do for these guys. That's why I say I'll always meet you halfway. And, I don't know, you got to be a moron not to see how I do that from where you sit. So I'm sure you see me do it. But I'm sure you see me do it. But that's what I do to try to develop these guys. That's the only reason we run every week. Because they've got to work. If they don't work, they got no timing. I wish I could have them work more than once a week. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but for right now, they're already ahead of the curve.
Yeah, but man, I can't explain to you what it's like to work every fucking night.
I can't imagine what it's like to work every night.
You know, I was looking back at some of my older stuff and thinking about some of the things I've done. You know, I don't go looking up my shit. I've never been that way. I don't have tape collections. I have my old jacket. I mean, I don't even have my old gear. But the reason I have that old jacket mostly is because someone else gave it to me. So I'm not like a mark for myself. I know I can't watch my own shit and learn from my own shit. You know, I got to watch people that are better than me to learn. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But people stumble across it, or I'll see it or something, and I fucking realized finally at 55 years old how good I was, and not just that, but how many other people held me in a higher regard than I held myself, because I was just too humble. You know?
Yeah.
Even thinking back to some people that would take advantage of that to try to hold me back even. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But, again, those are mistakes that I can teach other people with, you know. But, yes, I am very jacked up about some of our guys, and, you know, you find out who really wants it and who really doesn't want it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the ones that don't weed themselves out pretty quickly.
Yeah. The ones that, but there's a lot of hangers on too, man, that I can't believe some of the things I see, but I'm not going to go into detail. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The things that I say, I just think, what a waste. But yes, the bottom line is wrestling needs some larger than life personas, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's always been the highest drawing when you have, you know, your superhero babyface going up against a monster. You know? Somebody that actually makes them look not weak, but not invincible.
Or, you know, and here's the flip side to that coin, or maybe same side to that coin. How big are the late night talk shows now? There used to be fucking Johnny Letterman, Jay Leno, Letterman. Are late night shows, or, you know, after the news talk shows, still a big thing to people?
I don't think so, and I think it's just because of oversaturation. You've got the Tonight Show, you've got the Late Show, you've got so many different late night talk shows now.
Wow. Arsenio had a hell of a run. My point is that you could, who are you going to put on there? You're going to put Finn Balor on there. Like, let's imagine Arsenio was as over as Arsenio was, and you put Finn Balor on there, and he's the size of Arsenio.
Yeah.
That's not going to get over.
No.
You know?
No.
Well, I know Rick Rude's been on there. He got over. You know, he probably drew a hell of a lot of mainstream or non-fans. You know.
Yeah. People still talk about when he was on, when he and Bobby were on Regis and Kathy Lee.
I didn't know they were.
Yeah. It's
wow.
It shows up in a lot of different montages.
Wow.
When you're talking about Rick Rude, if you look at any number of the, there's so many, you know, different fan-made wrestling bios on YouTube, but if you pull up any of the Rick Rude ones, chances are they're going to talk about that appearance.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about Rude for a moment. Well, we're probably coming up on the close of this thing, right?
Coming up on an hour.
Okay, cool. So, real fast about Rick Rude. And he's a good example, and I hope some of these motherfuckers are getting it. But on our training page, we have a training page that on Facebook, that I'll share matches and tell these assholes what to watch for. It's a pain in the ass. It really is a pain in the ass, but it shows you how serious I am about our shit, and it shows me, the motherfuckers that want to learn it and then talk to me about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How serious they are, so I know who to do something with. You know what I mean? I posted a match a few weeks ago, less than a month ago, Rick Rudd versus Kamala.
Was that from World Class?
See that?
Was that from World Class?
Well, anyway, I think it was from World Class, maybe not. But anyway, Rick Rudd was a big, good-looking kid who was working in just plain-ass tights. no tan, cut. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Good looking. Paying his fucking dues. Doing the job to like a motherfucking clothesline. You know?
Mm-hmm.
He was broken in and trained up by, not Vern directly. Vern got out of the training at the time, but I want to say it was probably Eddie Sharkey, who was essentially Vern's company. Just Vern didn't have the hands on anymore because he was my age and couldn't fucking do it. You know what I mean?
Eddie gets most of the credit for training Rude.
Okay, cool. So my fucking math is good. So he did what they do, what they are supposed to do. They farmed him out, and with plans to bring him back. So within 1 year, 2 year, and I want to say it probably was for World Class, and it probably was Kamala, okay? Even then there was Rick Rudd. What the fuck? How boring is that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But he was your job guy, babyface. That's how you paid your dues. That's how you learn. And you go out there and you go from the 4-minute match to the 7-minute match. Then they need an 8 or 10-minute match. You know what I mean? You graduate into that when you're ready to do it. And you didn't watch fucking the match, the spot of the week, or your favorite WWE superstar and imitate their shit in the ring. You had to fucking listen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I want to say fucking Kamala or somebody beat him with a clothesline and a splash, you know? So I was trying to say to these guys, that's Rick fucking Rude, okay? So they look at Rude and they say, man, there's something there. You know? There's something there, the way he did it. You know, he knew he had to pay his dues, so he didn't bitch about it. He did what was asked of him. Then what was asked of him, he did it better than anybody else, plus he looked better than anybody else. So fast forward, less than 2 years, last week I posted a match. I want to say, I don't know if it was Rude or not, but it was a TV in 86. Yeah, 86. When I found out, and I didn't even know this, Steve Regal worked in World Class in Dallas for stints, you know. And for those of you listening that don't know, I was in Dallas too, right at the absolute end, working for Fritz and Kevin. Kerry was part owner, but Kerry was working for Vince, so he was never there then. But anyway, so here's Rude, okay? They finally, this guy, they booked him as a heel because the men hated him, but the women loved him. Magnum P.I. or Magnum, what's his name?
Oh, Magnum
Tom
P.A.?
Selleck. Yeah, Magnum P.I., Tom Selleck, was such an appealing actor to chicks, to women, you know, of all ages. But basically, he was a sex symbol to women who had expendable income. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, Rick Rude looked like him, but fucking no one was ever that cut in the industry until Rick Rude came along. He was a large guy, but he didn't have that muscle thickness that some of your bodybuilders had them because of that torso, the waist, the abs. You know what I mean?
Right.
Rick didn't just do abs. Rick worked his torso, his obliques, his lower back, so he had a tapered waist. But he was so good looking that he would sell tickets to women as a fucking heel.
Huh.
You know? And even your naysayers and all that would say, you know, look at that, look at there, and look at the way the crowd reacted to him. The women would pop like a motherfucker, while the guys would hate him even more because of that. They were being compared to him. You know what I mean? So he was the first one that had his own little, like, fucking niche. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, Vince was always gay. All the companies were gay for Rick Rude. Okay, and when I say gay, I don't mean any offense to anybody. He was good business wherever the fuck he was. Because he didn't have to be on TV. They would put him on posters and sell tickets. Because, ooh, he looked like a Chippendale. He was a cross between, but he was a big, you know, a 6 foot and change, 230, 240 pound Chippendale. You know what I mean? A cross between a Chippendale and they meant something, and Tom Selleck, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at Magnum P.I. was on TV forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, fast forward 2 years. He went from doing the job to Kamala with a clothesline, okay? Pardon me. To 1986, if you fast forward to that tape, if I didn't share it with you, they put him with Percival Pringle, with Paul Bearer as a manager, and they put the belt on him. And that was one of the last things that drew down there was Rick Rude. He went from Rick Rudd to Rick Rude. And here's the kind of manager and the way things were done that Percy was. You know, Paul Bearer, Percy Pringle. He would say, you know, he loved the Sportatorium. He loved Dallas. And I think it wasn't too far from home. And he knew that there was money there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, he lived in Alabama, didn't he?
Yeah, so he wasn't too far from there. But he also knew there was money there. You know, and the fact that the Von Erich boys couldn't handle the fame was what was harming him. So he was trying to do other things, and he's just a guy you wanted working for you. You know what I mean? Yeah. But he had such valuable information. So that's what he would do: is he would get with your Rick Rude and manage him. But it was like a shoot, because he would be advising the motherfucker. He would be up your ass. He would be carrying you. He would be talking to you. He'd be telling you to watch tapes. He would share stories with you from guys that could do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Now, if Rude was a douchebag or an egomaniac for a shoot, no way Percy would have attached to that motherfucker and done what he done for him. You know what I mean? But it was so big that they were still selling out that Sportatorium, and watching that shit, that era, for some reason, they lit up the building a little more. Not during the whole TV, but at times. I forgot how big that building was. How many people it actually seated. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it was one of those deceptively big buildings, right?
I wouldn't be surprised if that building's at 2,500, 3,000 people.
Really?
Thinking back now, yeah. Because don't forget, that building was on a slant, so your seats were raised.
Oh yeah, that's true.
You know, and then you had a fuckload of seats in there, and you had a fuckload of floor seats, and a fuckload of floor seats going to that back door where there wasn't raised seating, but the building was still a slight bowl. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they actually, at one point, changed the rules to suit Rick Rude's title run, which has never been done before. But because outside interference and the cheating that Rude did to keep the title, they said, now we're going to say for now, and they set up a thing, and then you should watch that if I didn't mention it, where they actually set up a press conference. And it was great how they did it. There wasn't that much press because, yeah, there would be press there in '86, but not the way they did it. You know what I mean? It was a work that was shot so well it looked real. You know what I mean? Questions, you know what I mean? Fucking tits, you know? But they went from that in 2 years by playing his cards right and working his ass off to they actually changed the rules, and he was the top draw. You know, he put on 15 pounds. Someone told him put on 15, 20 pounds. He did it. You know what I mean? He listened to Percy. And that wasn't even the peak yet. I mean, he used to come out to, when it was a hit, Smooth Operator! Smooth Operator!
See, I didn't know that. That's a cool little factoid.
Yeah, so he's a perfect example of what I'm trying to show these guys. Shut your fucking mouth. Do as you're fucking told. And people will notice you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm one of those few guys left that can actually has the people skills enough to work with these guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right, so Saturday night we have tournament for Challenge Pro Cup, which if you don't know, it's a reinvention of triple threat wrestling. And there'll be singles matches, and the last two will face our current Challenge Pro Cup champion, Not Bad Chad, for that cup. That will be to pinfall, over the top elimination, or submission.
Mm-hmm. Same rules as the cup.
Yep. The cool part about that is your champion Jose Acosta will be in that tournament, so we're just going to have the opportunity to wear both, you know, to win both.
Yeah, that's gonna shake things up a little bit.
Yeah. Then we've got a rematch, a re-tag team match what happened last week, where DeMarcio, Destroya, and Matt Vine, who technically pinned Chase Gosling last Saturday night, but it didn't happen. You know what I mean? Everybody thought they had the belts, but this Saturday night's the big rematch between them two, which the hook there is we know that Destroya, DeMarcio, and Matt Vine can beat him, you know?
Yeah, but then also, Vine is one win away in the best of 7 series. If he gets one more, he's going to win the series between them.
Yep, that will be revisited next Saturday, not this Saturday, because they're going to focus on that tag match.
Right.
Then what the hell else? I forget.
Those were the ones that you ran by me. So if you had any other ones cooking, it'd be first ones to know right here.
Well, my happy ass has got to get moving on the undercard and the participants and making those matches for the Challenge Pro Cup. That's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah. So 2 title matches.
Yeah, and I love the fact that Jose isn't defending the title that night. He's going to be going for that cup. Let's see if he can get that too. That's a motherfucker that impresses me. Him and Tim Castle is real good.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I'm looking forward to watching that one.
Yeah, it's very hard live attendance wise to do your baby face, quote unquote baby face versus quote unquote baby face. But the live crowd, it's kind of hard to get that over. But those guys really fucking got it over and put on a tremendous wrestling clinic, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Good fucking match.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's what the appeal of it was the fact that, you're going to be treated to a wrestling match.
Yes. That's one thing I like about today's standards, though. They do appreciate that. But the problem is everybody's fucking doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or trying.
But but I like to see these guys excel in it. You know what I mean? You got 2 conflicting styles. Jose's styles with the martial arts and the kicking, and he actually can wrestle. But, I mean, let's face it, that puts him way out. It gives him an advantage. He throws legs better than anybody on Vince's roster, you know?
Yeah.
And also, Tim Castle is coming along pretty quick with his love for actual pure wrestling, you know? And when I say that, it's not just catch as can shit. I mean, the guy's got a great array of moves, and he's always adding to it, you know?
Right, exactly. He gets more impressive every time he's in the ring, and he always seems to have something new in his arsenal.
Yeah. Yeah, he takes a lot of pride in his work, and he works pretty hard, too.
Yeah, you can see that when he's in the ring.
Yeah, so that's it for Saturday night. I'm sorry, listeners, I forgot to get that stuff printed up on the ticket page where you guys, if you're Patreon subscribers, get a live attendance ticket discount. But I'm going to put that in this group message that we have with people that run that, so we can start offering you that stuff. Probably next week we'll officially announce it.
Yeah, so you guys, you'll be able to save a little money when you come and see us live at the studio for supporting us here.
Yep. And I think that's all I've got, my brother. I want to dip out because I've got to do some wacky things on this end.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, hour and 15 minutes is pretty good. So.
All right, don't lose it this time, you son of a bitch. That's good. We gave him 15 more minutes because we fucked them last week.
Yeah.
Ian broke my balls about it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you didn't see it. Gianna posted a picture of me selling something, my mouth open, and I look like I'm so angry, you know? And the motherfucker, as soon as she posted it, he goes, "That's how I felt this week when I found out there wasn't going to be a podcast on Patreon."
Yeah.
What am I going to do, get mad at him? I love them for saying that.
Yeah.
You know? But hey, you got 50 more minutes. We only own 45 more.
Yeah. Make up for that as time goes.
Yeah, we told you we'd make it worth your time. All right, man. I'll talk to you later. Talk to you guys later, too, and some of you will see this Saturday night.
All right. We'll see you guys out in Woodstock on Saturday. Remember, 2 title matches, tag titles and the Challenge Pro Cup.